just giving you the general slave profile so that you'll have some idea what we're talking about. You know, you need to be able to look in the mirror and know what you're doing, but you also need to be able to look around you at the other slaves and recognize, you know, where they are too. A lot of what I talk about sometimes people say is not relevant anymore because things have changed. But you must remember that change doesn't necessarily mean better. Change just means different. And things are different. We're in the worse condition now than we have ever been in 439 years. You know. So let me just give you a few of these, and I'm going to just move through this quickly because we want to get to Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Martin, who have a very important message to bring us. Refers to other black people as you guys instead of sister and brother. You know, we used to just call each other sister and brother, but as the white people have taught us more and more this personal independence, we don't want to say no words to each other that might suggest that we are connected or that we have any kind of family relationship. And so everywhere I go, all over the country, everywhere I am when I'm around black women and black men, what you fellas gonna do? Where are the guys? And I wanna, what are you talking about? You know, and before they call me Sister Sharazad or Sister Ali, they'll say, lady, you know, they don't want no connection. That's what a slave do. Slaves want to be depersonalized. Slaves don't think about nobody but self. Slaves selfish, trying to survive and think it can't act like it got no relatives. You know, that's what a slave does. The slave also wears brand name clothes so that the designer's name is clearly visible. Now that's a bad problem y'all know we have. You can't look at a black man on TV. He got Nike on his head. He got Reebok on his chest. He got something else on his feet. You know, I'm so tired of y'all being slavery time walking advertisements. If you're going to put somebody's name on, put your own name on. You know, stop wearing everybody else's name. Stop acting like a slave on a plantation. White people brag about how cheap they got something. They got y'all tricked up. Y'all brag about how much you paid for it. How much money you gave them. As the sister explained, the markup on clothing and garments is 40, 50, sometimes 75,000%. We can't afford it. We ain't making no clothes. You know? So, you know, that's something else we need to do. And, of course, refusing to call blacks by their African or Egyptian name. We say we can't say it, you know, so we try to not call people by that. We want to keep the name that we have inherited from the slave masters. Now, that's really a slave. If you just think about, as I have said before, you never find a Jew that'll name their child Adolf Hitler. So why are you still naming yours Bridget and Amy and Shirley? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Don't you see that the first stigma of slavery is that they took our name and our God? We can't say it didn't matter. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't have did it. Everything they did mattered. So when you want to hold on to the name of Johnson because your father's name was Johnson and his father was, and then some slave master behind him somewhere was named Johnson, think about that. It's no insult to your parents. They had a slave name too. So did mine. That's not disrespecting them because they were slaves too. You need your own name. And if you don't want your own name, you acting like a slave. If you're satisfied with your American, European, Gentile name, then you're acting like a slave. That's another thing that we need a re-education on. Buys cards and gifts to celebrate every European holiday. Stop doing that. You know? Every holiday the white people got. Black people running in the stove. Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween. Y'all coming out with a sack. You know? None of them holidays, you know, got anything on it even remotely about us. Martin Luther King, that ain't really no holiday. The white people didn't even like him till he died. They don't like nobody till they dead. Ain't no problem no more. You know? So stop giving them money for every holiday. Express your love to your loved one on some date that you pick out. You don't have to worry about being romantic. You're not the Romans. You can't be romantic. You know? A whole lot of what we try to be, it's not even in us. We're trying to mimic them. So don't be, that kind of a slave. Okay, promote their children to participate in integrated activities. Stop teaching your children to get along with white people before they get along with black people. Okay. Now this is the real slave, and I see this from LA to New York. Wears dreads, braids, or African clothes, and has a white maid on their arm. Okay, that's still going on. That's still going on. In fact, most of the people is getting so in the big cities that you see dressed like that. They got a white person somewhere. And then when I show up, they try to act like I embarrass them. Like my ideas are so ancient. Like in the TV studios backstage, you all don't have any idea what's going on. It's a riot. They all try to act like they're ashamed of me. I treat the white people so bad. I make everybody do their job, do this. I just be on them. And then the black people, they be acting scared. They be acting like I'm embarrassing them. Okay, another mark of a slave is a person that loves to move into a neighborhood with all white. Trying to get away from the rest of us. Okay. And certainly a mark of a slave is a person that insists on eating pork no matter what they have learned about it. Okay. Buys black children white dolls and books featuring white characters. All those symbols mean something. Don't let your children know what white people look like before they know what black people look like. Let them learn about self. If you're teaching them about the slave master first, then you acting like a slave. Becomes happy and animated when talking to white people. We see that all the time. Some of us can't hardly talk at all, but you let somebody white start asking us a question. You see all the teeth, give up all the directions. I see it all the time. I hate that. I was on an elevator in Chicago, and I was just standing there with the bellhop, and I was standing there while two white men got on the elevator. And I was just, you know how you do to keep from looking at everybody. I was looking at the numbers go across. I was up on like the 18th, 19th floor. Anyway, the devil over here to my left say, are you here for a conference? And I said, no. And I was so mad at myself. I answered automatically. And I said, none of your business what I'm here for. And then I turned my head back around. Because I got mad. I was angry. And I recognized that when that white man opened his mouth, what is it? I was so, so it can happen to anybody. That's my point. And I know I'm conscious on it. So I just turned my head and said, none of your business what I'm here for. I ain't the information bureau. I don't have to answer, I ain't got to answer no questions. You don't have to do anything. And that's just, as I said, that's not to be hostile. Just ask me, well, how do I get along with them on my job if I don't laugh at their jokes? I said, well, if it's not in your job description, I say, then you just need to go with Allah. Just do your job, and if they mess up, sue them. But they make that a requirement, that we have to laugh at their jokes. And all adult black women know, the frustration of having to be around some white men that's saying something, that's offhand. I won't even, I have to deal with it. I won't even ride in the white limousine car because I'm not riding no 2 and 3 hours with no white man in no closed-up car. So I had to have a black driver. And they came and asked me the other day, I felt really bad. The people came out and they needed to make pictures. They were taking pictures for a promotion we're doing. And the white woman called me and asked me, was it all right if she sent a white photographer? And I thought, boy, they really think I'm racist. So, of course, I told her, no, I need a black photographer because I don't think he does. Because every time Every time I travel and say I don't want to be bothered with no white people, then they have to go hire and round up a bunch of black people to come and deal with me. And I have reached a point where I can have things pretty much like I want to have them. And so that means I can ask for what I want. And if they say no, I can say, well, okay, I ain't coming. You know, so, you know, I've been blessed in that way. Now, the other way that we act like a slave, I got 5 more minutes, let me tell you this. The other way that we act like a slave is that we make our little children, one of the first things we do is they're growing up, when they get to be 2 or 3 years old, and we bring company in, we say, get up and dance. Show them you can dance. Watch them dance. That's from slavery. You know, they used to make us dance. Make all the people dance. And so we still do that. When we have a baby, the first thing it can do, we call somebody in and we'll spank that child if it won't dance for the company. We'll beat that child. You better dance. That's from slavery. Being greedy. You know, we got a reputation across the country. If we go somewhere to a buffet or eat all you can or eat all you want, we clean them out. You know, we take food home in our pocketbook. You know, that's from slavery. It's a slave reaction of being deprived of food and having to sneak and hide and hoard food. So don't go out. If you're going to go to the white people restaurant, then don't go in there acting like an abject slave. Don't do that to yourself. Not that we got no image to protect in front of them, because they already know our condition, so I don't have nothing to hide from them. I'll be wide open with them, because they already know what condition I'm in. Yeah, and I'm mad about it. You know, and that's the same, that, you know, that goes with the being overly attracted to fine clothes, stealing paper clips and stuff on the job, stuff you ain't never gonna need at home. Come home with a box of staples. Don't do that. That's a slave behavior. You know, work at the hospital, bring home a crate of cotton balls. Don't do that. Anything. During slavery, we had to steal. We had to use pilferage. We had to get any little thing we could. And so today, we still do that. We can't help it. If we're there, we'll get it. You know, don't do that. Don't act like a slave. You know. Don't do it, you know, and it takes some control, because it's like an automatic reaction, because it's so deep into us, you know, but, you know, try not to do that, you know. White people gave the Indians alcohol. They gave the black people drugs. So we have to be careful. We know that we have substances that they will give us to try to destroy us. And we can talk about the violence on the TV and all of that, but there don't no white people come in our house and cut the TV on. We cut the TV on in our house. And we can cut it off. You know, so every time we decide, you know, to do a lot of these kind of basic things that we got from slavery, just don't act like a slave. I want to leave you with that thought. Stop acting like a slave. Find out what the behavior of a slave is and stop doing that. It is one of the reasons we cannot make progress. Because they put some things in motion that even without a slave master, we still acting like a slave. All right? Assalamu alaikum.